You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. Something happened in my Minicam app. There was no progression of the intro audio. It used to show it playing, and you would know when you get near the end. I'm not sure where that went. So again, obviously this thing attacking me began at least 30 years ago. And if you listen inside about, well, it's all bullshit from them. They kill people, and that's what they enjoy doing. The law enforcement, the intelligence work, the corporate work, the charity, the church, that's all secondary. That's cover story. So it's incumbent upon the present actors, and it's very important that they tell the truth. Nothing but the truth. You need to explain who put you into me. That's what it's really about. Who put you into me, what veiled language they used, what buzzwords they used. Because I know you're going to tell me this is a legitimate case of some astronomical proportion. You used military intelligence and CIA methods to torture a U.S. citizen. It's very important that you explain that you were put into it if that's what happened, because that's what I understand happened. That's where it began, then that's where you tell them that's where it began. Very important that you tell the truth, nothing but the truth. So it's a really interesting mechanism. You have secret societies throughout the United States violating people's rights. Now we're all becoming more liberal, right? We're the communists, right? This is who we all are, the originators of the Republican Party and the reality of what the Republican Party should be in Christ, Jesus. They have a secret society going for decades. We all knew about it. It was much smaller than it is now. Just the general world. No, it isn't just the way it is. It isn't legal. You aren't protecting your community. You've caused children to be raped and killed. You've caused adults to be raped and killed. While telling everybody, see, you need us. But we became a little more introspective and extrospective about what was going on in our communities as the thing enlarged. So what they did is law enforcement would then be the lead entity of the secret society. There were members of law enforcement that were part of it. They needed to take over law enforcement to make it all criminal corruption. And law enforcement work became secondary. That's why crime is increasing. Causing crime in their victims became primary. or the appearance of crime, it starts by saying it. Again, metaphysical people will know what that is. It's a spell. You say it out, and everybody else starts saying that spell, inside and out. So what we have going on is the partner system. A police officer comes in and now tells the church, tells the retail outlet, tells the corporate entity that is already part of the secret society that originates the assassination, that this person's dangerous and you have to do certain things to that person or your people will be in danger. So if it ever comes to some sort of investigation, well, the police officer told me to do it. So now, see, is why the police officers get paid so much by these criminals, because now they can do whatever they want and say, police officer said it. And that works well in the federal government, especially because they're protected as long as they believe they're doing what's right. So they develop these systems of destruction, of torture. And it's not about doing what you want, the community wants the person to do, because in reality, they're forcing the person out of that place to motivate the community to go after them. Those like, got you, see? It's really serious, all of you. You need to stop, all of you. The Justice Department isn't the pinnacle of this thing. Trying to get something up here on the screen. Because again, you know, most of them are chicken. They're just afraid not to do it. Some are just downright evil, and many of them become downright evil. Because of their evil and the force requiring them to be evil, they then blame it on their victim. It happens all over the world when we have torture going on. It is a crime against humanity. You torture your victim because your victim is whatever you decide to call them at that given moment. We might as well just say Juden. So again, there is your pinnacle. And God is destroying the earth. You will probably live less years than it will take to destroy the earth. However, you will be in hell before the earth is destroyed. Now, they're using psychological methods to get their victim to reverse the blame onto themselves. And it involves alpha, beta, delta waves. It involves serotonin. It involves sensory deprivation. It involves isolation. It involves psychological torture. And it's rife throughout the police departments and law enforcement entities and corporate entities. And yes, it might actually be within Google. We don't know for sure who their people are. Just because they say they're saving a child and appear to be saving a child. And again, it's very easy to become increasingly abusive and manipulative, like a Munchausen by proxy. And then when you feel uncomfortable, they move where? They move back to investigating legitimately. Oh, we messed up there. But look at all the great work we did. Just like Kanye, Hitler built highways and microphones. Now, I've said Hitler was possessed, but we can't lose focus of what happened to his life. Again, the larger lesson is being destroyed by either Satan or an intelligence evil, because they're manipulating a lot of this. And again, if Satan is moving, intelligence can be moving. And again, when I say intelligence, it could be Russian, it could be private sector, it could be CIA. Because it's like what I was saying, but twisted. You see it everywhere. Everything I say gets twisted and put out somewhere else. Because what we have to realize is Europe itself possessed Hitler. Europe put Jews in ghettos on and off for centuries. And they thought it was funny until, it came down to what actually happened. They figured they'd get the wealth and put the Jews in some sort of ghetto like they had been, and that's it. But no, it got really nasty, didn't it? So Adolf Hitler is really probably, as I've said, again, I leave everything open to God to explain to you when you pass from life to life everlasting. God may be able to explain it to you here, but I haven't heard too much of reality. What I hear is a shifted reality, something that it looks like what I'm saying, but not what I'm saying. So Adolf Hitler was possessed, and if he was possessed his entire life, then he does not have a blame because that is a spiritual blindness. Now, one of the problems with that is that people get very angry at it. But somebody's to blame. Don't you want the thing and the people that were responsible for World War II and the Holocaust to be blamed? So if Hitler is possessed, there are those that cursed Hitler. There are those that had a desire, a will larger than God's protective power on this planet. Again, this is not the Father's kingdom. The way to get it into that is everybody has to turn and seek God's face. Now, if you're turning and seeking Satan's face and calling it Jesus and God, that's not going to work either. And that's what we have going on. So they went and they took over all of these law enforcement places. How? Organized crime, extortion, racketeering. So organized crime took over law enforcement, elevated its people to these honorables, like Putin was part of it. He may have been the mastermind, I don't know. He's saying no. He says that he wasn't. So again, it's very difficult to see Satan and see human where it ends and where it begins. Now, one thing is, I thought Putin named his missile Satan, and he didn't. NATO did. So again, that kind of burned me because I thought Putin was that far gone. And he didn't. I mean, if the man has trouble, he has trouble. But he had to fight probably a lot of what I had to fight in life. I'm not condoning what he's doing, but if you twist and whack a person's head, they're going to be twisted and whacked, especially over an extended period of time. And that's what these law enforcement characters know. Oh, it's only a matter of time till we get what we want. When they get a 60 or 70-year-old person to act out violently or sexually inappropriate, because they've been doing it to them for 30, 40 years. So some cops will tell you they don't want to be part of it anymore. But I'll tell you, you're not getting, that happens all the time. People are fired all the time. All sorts of stuff's happened in law enforcement all along. What's happening is people don't want to be part of that corruption, even if it's only an inside corruption. So as you increase in evil, and pushing people into crime, and torturing people into crime, into killing people via forced suicide known as psychological murder, the people began to see it even more so and feel it. Again, a lot of people can't articulate things, and I say, I know what you're feeling. I know what's causing it. So we have a black community that's lagging behind. Metaphysically, they're cursed. There's nothing else that's going to do that. But then you can point your fingers at all the people that you manipulated into a sublife, and point to the sublife and say, this is the reason. No, there's a further reason. And that cycle just keeps continuing. So it takes a while, even after we stop you, for those people to come back up. And the people that know are afraid to say anything. The real black people aren't speaking because they don't have any money. Because Satan knows they know the truth. They're out here. And of course you hire a few here or there because devils are white, black, brown, red, yellow, poor, rich. So what they're doing is segregating all of us so we can't come together in truth. Again, I don't agree with the black, but she's short-sighted, and that comes from the inability to see. But I don't agree with the black woman 100%, but she's correct. There was something posted where she said, I don't feel like hanging out with white people. Or we don't feel like hanging out with white people. You got to ask if it's okay to hang out with white people. Now, if I showed up, you wouldn't care generally. Some people are very jaded because they've been, I understand they're victims, right? When I was in Colorado, now, in Colorado, it could have been set into motion by the police department. And one guy was an alcoholic, so sit out there and drink and get nasty. But he was hurt by white people. I mean, if you're living in Aurora, Colorado, you've probably been hurt by a white person. And there's nothing you can do. It's, again, the same thing I'm feeling. And that's the funny part, because there is a segment of the Jewish population, a segment of the white population that's experiencing, what you are as a black person, but it's a little worse kind of. Like, initially, it won't happen. Like, you can see my life kind of went somewhere. I believe I've been told that people that I grew up with are part of this thing. Like, now. Like, some got into law enforcement, some people got in other places, and they're part of it. And, this is revealing what happened when you grew up. And they're just like, they go wacko. You heard that one guy, he was like, I wasn't really bullied. I was like bullied once. Right. I was actually extorted for money. But I was asleep and, it was whatever. And I just kept going, I think one of the guys got shot. A police officer within a couple of years. There are a group of people that didn't fare too well. Now, I had no knowledge of anything other than, I'm living my life. I was totally asleep. I was probably in law enforcement from a young age, but I wasn't receiving. And it was actually more dangerous to be in law enforcement and not receiving. So again, being in law enforcement, well, I watched the TV shows. I was all into it. My voice probably gets out pretty well, even though I didn't know it was. But I'll tell you what, a lot of the derailing of my life was from curses. And some of it was people in places of responsibility that didn't know how to handle their mind and okay, you're dead and you're speaking to me, go away. I have to speak. I understand you didn't know. So again, I speak about it in the heroin rehabilitation world, or whatever rehabilitation world at this point. If your people judge the participants down, instead of judging the thing that addicts them, which is a demon, and it resides in people that curse them, and have the general curses for the world, and no, you're not regulating the world for God by cursing evil people when you do it the way you all do it. So they can't succeed. So what happens is the deep state decides who goes in to rehabilitation mostly. Like who's going to run that, right? Who's going to make the big money? And like I told you, some of those people are the dealers themselves. And then they're going to make money on rehabilitation services. So when they go in, they can't succeed. So the same people that Satan wants to take out, like you'll see, well, we have a 90% success rate. But those are the 90% Satan sent to make them look good. The 10% are the actual ones Satan doesn't want to come off the narcotic. That's going on everywhere. Again, New York, it has to be careful. The mayor has to go out and say what his intention for that program is. If your intention, because you're sending a message that says, yeah, now we get the cracked skulls. You could be sending that message. And cops are wacko anymore. They're not decent people. So the mayor has to be careful that he doesn't send a message that he's actually a fake Democratic Party person like Lois Lerner. Because she believed in hierarchy and supremacy and all of that. Again, there are black people that believe they are the rulers of the black community, and we divvy up the world, and it's this, that, and the other thing. There is, God. I was young. It's the one thing that was good, and I never knew the word ruler, how it meant, until God woke me up. I mean, the information that I received so fast, there's no way it was on my own mind. And of course, God stood before me. It was scary. God turned his power up and started speaking. And I was an oracle of God, so he's speaking through me. To me. And he still does that every so often. But he turned the power up, just so I know it was him. I'd be like, I'm driving. I feel like going underneath the dashboard. But God is like, these guys go, see, this should not be happening. You should be happy to see me. What he says is that feeling that causes us to drop to the ground. Again, it seems like it's worship, right? God says that his DNA touched me. Earth, the spiritual DNA, we speak about that. Earth's system attacks God's spiritual DNA. So if God indwells me too much, they'll kill me. So you see how it's different than when Jesus was here, but not different at the end of his life, right? So God indwelled Jesus, and the evil on earth started focusing on that spiritual DNA, and at one point he was crucified. See, there's a whole metaphysic behind everything that's happening and that has happened. So what they're doing is they're taking these places that were racist, and now they're calling it law enforcement. Now, well, you're white. How are we racist? You know the deal. If I don't hate black people, then you hate me twice as much as a black person. So again, originally I kind of benefited but didn't, because I was kind of like a Joseph in my life. Joseph being put into slavery. They betrayed their brother. However, I was white and probably I could have had some white privilege had I not been Joseph. Because Satan knew I was. Satan knew that I wasn't racist. And you know what? They probably knew. I don't know what people perceive and what they don't perceive when I was growing up. They must have perceived more than I knew, because I didn't know anything. So maybe they sensed that I wasn't racist. Maybe they didn't want to be racist around me too much. Actually, they did say it a little bit, but I never partook in it. So maybe that kind of set them off that, hey, he's not speaking about black people like we are. Or whoever else they were speaking about. So you have this world that is now saying that we are protecting people. How dare you come in here and accuse us of anything? And they're using CIA methods to make an illusion. They're manipulating their victims day in and day out. You can watch somebody and drive them crazy, not even doing what they're doing. I mean, they're in there changing numbers, patterns of words. What it's doing is altering my brain. And they know that. And no, it's not because I'm crazy. It's because they're evil and crazy. So they're also projecting. So every time you look at something online to purchase something to have, it's because you're going to use that camera to take dirty pictures or something like that. But what happens is if they say that when you buy it, you may find 6 months down the road, you've never taken a dirty picture in your life, and you end up taking a nude of yourself and sending it to some police officer somewhere who's trying to get you to have sex with a 14-year-old because they have nothing better to do. But again, remember, that police officer is willing you to do that. Now, is that every police officer? No, there's some people who don't have will. But yet, your program could have a blanket will that causes the people on the other side to fall. So again, it doesn't matter who you are. You're plugged into a dirty system. And I know it's not keeping us safer, and no, it isn't bail reform. So again, you see how they did that. It's bail reform in the Democrats. Because we're doing the same thing we're doing, and defund. And they're defunding you because they don't want that happening any longer. Oh, wait a minute. I got a little clip going on here. I turn that down. Okay, let's take the preamp. All right, it's still clipping. Tube. All right. Oh, no, there it is again. I turned the bass a little bit, and it looks like it's... That looks fine. I just get away from the mic a little bit. That's kind of happening here. The truth is the only thing that's going to work. And people that are evil, I told you it's like Legend with Will Smith. Oh, you're so evil, Will Smith. You're not allowed to speak about him. Oh, you sound like Kanye. So again, all those swirling thoughts that are false. The reason God will be exalted among the heathen is, and again, Earth is something different than where we are. I'll tell you that right now. This is not Earth. If you look at the spiritual, not progression, the fall, I guess is what it's called. Because the heathen will be saved by Jesus. Heathen will be saved by Yeshua God, by Jehovah God. They'll be saved because they're asleep. They'll be saved because Jesus spoke into their head and said, just feed that person. Just give them, look, you have 2 cheeseburgers. You know that person needs a cheeseburger. I'm not into burgers, but veggie burger, there you go. So again, remember, they hear his voice. So again, Santa Claus is a really good focus. Saint Nick is fabulous. Jesus would want you to focus on Saint Nick. If you know the true story of Saint Nicholas, you'll understand why, if you understand Jesus. So a lot of people that go against the Santa Claus thing, Jesus is, he can take that worship if it's real. But if you're just hating on people and that's just another reason to hate on people, it doesn't go anywhere but into hell where it came from. It's pretty funny how their wills work, how I'm getting out of the city and moving along, because they're actually willing me out of the city at this point. I told you, God works between the lines in our lives, in the world around us, and it's just, you really can't see it. It's like really scary, but it takes time. So eventually their curses are actually pushing me out of the city. But they actually want me to stay here because they want to finish the job and continue to receive the corrupt and criminal payments they're getting for doing what they're doing to me in the name of whatever it is they're doing. That's not the only one, but that's one of them. The super PAC and all that political money, they pay cops and sheriffs and other people. And then they rule the secret society. I mean, it sounds kind of easy, but it's psychological torture, physically blocking people from jobs. They'll follow your boss around, which gets me to something. Hey, make sure you're watching. It probably isn't as much right now because it's funny because the Supreme Court justices have now, I imagine they have security details, all of them. Cops could follow them and change a ruling. Every day, let's say Kavanaugh goes to work, those police officers following him, and then he gets hit with subliminal messaging. Kavanaugh knows the rigmarole. He can't say anything because he's been indoctrinated into the deep state, probably. Not to say he's a willing participant, not to say that he's not, just a scenario. So I was thinking this morning, probably something I was supposed to receive about a year ago. Oh, this is all down in volume. What happened there? So that could have been how all this happened. So if every time the Supreme Court goes to work, a police officer drops in behind them, or the pattern, like I tell you, when I get near my apartment or my extended stay, they bring one police officer in front of me. They're not helping me. You're not helping. Don't act like you're trying to show me that I'm being watched or some shit. Well, the theory is if they hide the police officers from me, then it's the opposite of what you go, well, what do you want? Do you want us to follow you or not follow you? Just act natural, act normal. Quit violating rights and harming people and psychologically torturing them and degrading their ability to stop from crime. So that's what they do when they have a little game, not a game, it's psychological torture that they play. And it's not just you're playing because they're trying to change the words. They psychologically torture people, and it's abusive, and it causes dysfunction in the life of their victims, guaranteed, no matter who they are. So when you complain about them following you illegally, then they'll pull all the police officers away from you while you're driving down the road, and there'll be a pattern of one showing up at a certain point. Oh, we didn't follow him. What does he want? He wants us to follow him or not follow him. So again, it's that's how ignorant they are. That's how evil they are. That's how psychological torture can be operated in a secret way. And remember, this has been done for 30 years, at least. So we have very psychotic people running government everywhere. Corporate leaders. Well, it's here. Where is this? Hang on. It's that right there. They all look holy, and not necessarily holy, because again, sometimes they have the bad guy part, but it's okay, it's in check, and this is all accepted, but no, they have that evil secret society running. So again, they all look like that, and they're the ones causing the fall in people's lives, causing the crime in people's lives, blocking them from places of healing. And then they go, well, you want something from us? No, unhand the church of Christ and let it restore back to reality. There's no test going on. There's no way to get past it when they say you don't get past it. They're holding all the cards. And there might be the use of direct energy. It's not outlandish. If the government doesn't see it, it's either corrupt or it doesn't have the capability to really investigate, because the only people in there are the people that the deep state let stay. They killed Bob because he was too good of an investigator. That's why they killed him. And they killed him by disappearing him. I believe LSD was used, or something like it, to cause him not to be able to protect himself. Again, when I say you can't protect yourself, it might not be that you're immobilized. It's just your mind begins receiving the suggestion. Now, there are patterns of numbers and words online, subliminal messaging. Even if you're fighting the content of it, it's still going to alter your mind. And they know they're doing that. Apparently, I got word that they were confused because I was healing people and they thought I was trying to do something funky with them. They knew who I was. They knew I was healing. That's what made them mad. I go by a black family and I heal them, and they no longer are under the control and the spell of the police department trying to destroy them and put them all in prison because they said they deserve civil rights more than they already have. Whether they do or not is neither here nor there. They have a right to say it. Jesus speaks about freedom of speech. Now, do you think Elon Musk has a clue about freedom of speech? No. He's obviously playing out a Republican game. Does he feel inside that he's fighting for freedom of speech? Yes. Most likely. But he doesn't have a clue. Because first he has to take on secret society. He's not taking on secret society. He's part of a cell of secret society that is now being attacked by the other cell. That's why I told him, be careful. you were in the Democratic Party secret society, and they gave you money. You don't have as much money, but you're going to have less money if you fight the people that gave you money. Again, it's the same thing with Kanye. I don't know what Kanye's speaking about. He's part of a secret society that gave him money. Like, there are lawyers that fight for civil rights, but they're in secret societies, and they can only go so far. They've already talked to me in my mind. I know who they are. So they fight for civil rights, but if they go past a certain point, then they become nobody. Because the system can use that civil rights lawyer for its purposes, the corrupt system. But that's the trade-off. They have to answer to God on it. That's just the way it works. And like I've said, if your business is to protect or defend somebody, that's fine. That's what you have to do. But then you have to realize, where are you in the bigger picture of God? Again, the Bible tells us that sin's going to come. So again, the Bible's kind of saying sin's no big deal. Everybody has it. It's the hidden sins of power. Like they'll say, well, that person over there took a nudie picture of themselves and sent it to that woman over there, and we as police officers know that, and everybody should know that because the Bible says it should be shown to everyone. No, it doesn't say that. It's speaking about the sins of your mind, the sins of your corruption, the sins of taking that person's life down so they would do that while you willed it, while you were watching them. And then you and your crony said, "Ee!" You see, that's the sin. That's who's going to pay. That's who's going to go to hell. So again, it's very important that we understand where this all originated. So we have to go back through the chain of events of who put who into who. You can't point at the effects of your torture. You can't. I'm just lucky I never actually committed a crime or killed myself. I mean, that's where all these other people are after a year, 2 years. These cops think it's funny to manipulate people. They feel powerful. They're sick. Very sick. They're sicker than the cop that would just shoot somebody. Because a lot of cops that shoot somebody, it's just that moment choice. They made a mistake, even if they were evil. They made an evil choice in that moment. These cops are sitting there, these law enforcement officers, these corporate leaders, these supposed partners are sitting there for 30, 40, 50 years torturing their victim and changing them whenever they can. And they're trying to change my choices of buying things, not buying things. It has nothing to do with any type of reality. I already tested it. It doesn't have to do with it being some sort of criminal tool or possibly being a criminal tool. It's just the fact that they can alter my thought process. And when they take you down to a certain level, you have to be careful of where you fight it and where you don't fight it, or you get injured like I got injured. But there was no way up from that point because I know God was steering me. Otherwise, God would have told me to go in a different direction if it was possible. You know, if you're investigating secret societies in Texas, that would be a good statement. So that's where it goes wrong with the secret society, the secret oath. It may not be a physical oath, or it may not be a ceremonious or a ceremonial oath, but they are swearing allegiance to other things in the United States. They pledge allegiance to the United States, but it's like a Nazi Germany. That's really what it is. It's a secret society, Nazi Germany. That's what they believe the United States was and is. And they believe if you don't have property, you shouldn't have voting rights. But why did that disappear? Besides being probably fair. Because they blocked people from property. So eventually the laws changed so that people that didn't have property could vote because God wanted them to have property, and the criminals in government wouldn't, and the have money in society, again, a secret society, wouldn't let them vote. Or let them have, property and then be able to vote. They denied people the purchase of a home. They constructively denied me the purchase of a home. If I'd have got past all their blocks, I probably would have, they wouldn't accept my offer. So again, the deep state would have still, they may not even given the offer to the owner. If the realtor's in, then the owner may not even get the offer. So right there is what they're doing. Can we get control of an individual to the point where he or she will do our bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature, such as self-preservation? Yes, they can and have. Some of these mass shooters are those people. And that's how bad they are. That's how evil they are. And again, rapists, that first DA, I'm not going to let it go. I know what's going on in Oklahoma. The question is he one of their victims? Most probably yes. What level is that victimization? Again, he committed a crime. But if that crime was caused by another entity psychologically manipulating him, even if it wasn't torture, but I know it's torture that they use, then he's not responsible. So again, you can see how perverted the law enforcement system is now. You can see how angry God is. They're going to psychologically torture people. When he had sex, I would say it was before he had sex with the other woman. Now, the funny part is, if you know how the deep state works, you know, there's thousands. Don't laugh, I'm trying to speak. Some of the employees are laughing. There's thousands of people that are having that type of relationship in federal, or I wouldn't even say federal, state buildings and state offices across Oklahoma. And somebody says even in higher positions than him, or that he held at the time. So again, that was like 10 years ago or something. So you can see that manipulative process over a 10-year time period. He's lucky to be alive. So no, God's not going to honor anything until that changes. Now, people will go back 30, 40 years, say, well, it was like that back then. I don't know what he's talking about. It increased in size. Again, you may have had a few percent of the officers doing that back then. Chicago was corrupt. They were torturing people physically. And there is physical torture. Because, see, they walk into a doctor's office and they freak the doctor out, or they follow the doctor while you're going to see the doctor so the doctor knows it's about you, and all of a sudden you can't get your care. And over time, the system will block you from getting care based upon the status and the money of the doctors, because they don't want to see you, because they don't want the deep state in their life. So you see how that's paradoxical. At a certain point, you can't even get to the doctor and to the care, even beyond the psychological torture they may have used on you. So at a certain point, your body breaks down. They caused it. There's no doubt they caused it in my life. And now you have physical torture for physical pain. So you see how they're thinking like a CIA black site or a CIA torture site, an Abu Ghraib. But they're out thinking law enforcement? No, law enforcement doesn't care. The government doesn't care. It's got its, I got my money. Like Kanye. Kanye don't care. He got his money. But they're starting to take it away. You have to understand, they can't let you have money. He doesn't understand that part of it. In other words, if they give you money and you go rogue like that, and it's not, as far as Kanye, I think he's being manipulated, but as far as the rogue he went, it's so far out, they can't leave him with money. They may even have known that he was, a little anti-Semitic, but, it keeps him to himself. He lives his little life, right? Or big life. But at a certain point, I guess more, now they say they didn't know. It became, because they believed he was a freedom guy and all that. So, at a certain point, you're projecting your money at rich people who know that you could kill them out. Now, whether they did that to him, I don't know. He sounds like he's projecting. It's really what it sounds like. Now, are there rich Jews that are evil? Of course, Weinstein. But he was the one that was doing all that. And, I just knew it. I could feel it, that he was part of something that he did the same thing. In other words, he's not going to hire somebody he doesn't like or doesn't want to have money. And in fact, that we have him forcing people to do a lot of different things. I think there's spies watching him, or it could be cops watching him and doing it to him. I don't know. Well, just because you're black and racist doesn't mean that white racists like you. And that's where he's getting himself into. Well, yeah, maybe a big one that's your buddy, like Nick Fuentes or something. But anybody that might be an underling, like, man, he's black. Who cares? Put him out. I don't want him near Trump. He'll ruin it for us. That kind of thing. Trump is a supremacist, period. So a lot of people are supremacists. You don't have to be a white supremacist to be that way. Because supremacists believe everybody has their place. And that your place is being poor. So even if Trump did, and I believe Trump believed black people, or, he said they were unintelligent, good look, whatever it was. Was it good looks or intelligence? But both, I guess. But I think it was your intelligence, he said. You got it from your white side. So he is a racist. But even if he wasn't racist, because some people believe in supremacy. So that you have what you have because of this. Now, if you go to Indian religions, the Jain religion, they believe everybody gets their karma, but yet they didn't read all of the scriptures that are, the Hindu scriptures. Because there are delays in receiving your karma. There are curses on people that change the karma, where the karma doesn't exist any longer. So how does God transmit that message in the Hindu scriptures? You go to somebody who is like a gatekeeper where God lives. This isn't just heaven. This is where God lives. And somebody comes along and thinks, like Donald Trump, you know who I am. It's like a little baby being. So that's like a baby Trump. The balloon baby thing. But it's funny because it does match. So that being goes to heaven to visit God. And these individuals didn't recognize baby Trump. And he curses them. And they fall to earth and they become demons and devils on earth. But yet he gives birth to like one of the most holy beings that you can consider in Hindu scriptures. Prahlad Maharaj, who believes in uttering God's name all day. So, again, God sends, little hints that karma isn't always going to happen. Because for all intents and purposes, the two brothers that were sent to earth that were the gatekeepers, they should have had a holy, wealthy life on earth. But you'll find that in a lot of people that have money and have good life. They'll say, it's your karma that you don't have money. Or in some cases, your place. See, I blow their system out because I actually, you have to this, you have this. And for a while, people would say to me, you have to go somewhere so they can pay you. I'm thinking BS. They're trying to kill me. There's no place I can go where they're going to pay me. Look, I put in for an increase in my disability. They didn't even give me that. And it's warranted. I should probably have 100% VA disability. But I was willing to settle for a few hundred more. And it actually would have changed the course of my life. And they know that. If they can keep your money down, then you're going to end up in bad places that make you sick. $300 more, I would have moved faster to where I needed to get to, and I would have outpaced COVID. So again, they like to say, well, you didn't, like the Bible says, you didn't prepare. You can't prepare. You're killing everything I do. I should have been a millionaire before I even got in the government. But yet, when I got out of government, I definitely should have been a millionaire within a couple days. Not a couple days, God said. If I could just get you to that lottery ticket. But within, a couple years, I should have been well on my way to being a millionaire with the information that was popping out of my head and all the stuff I was doing to rescue people. I was metaphysically rescuing people. They call it delusions of grandeur. It's visions of grandeur. That's what I call it. They've seen it. They see the patterns. And they get angry. They're just sick people. So again, there is a Project Artichoke out there, and it is happening. Whoever has it, has it. Wherever it came from, it came from. But we need to exercise care that we don't lose all of our good people out of government and out of church because, the evil is there making sure nobody good gets in. But of course, none good, no, not one. But there is a level of drop dead on the ability for the government to actually do something right and something well. And I think we're pretty much past that. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people out there making money and having a good life, but it's all bullshit life. It's all oppression life. It's all oppressed life. It's not the United States, I'll tell you that. And these people rose to power because people like Vladimir Putin rose them to power. So one of the things they do, it's interesting. Satan could do it, but I perceive that they're doing it based upon patterns and things like that. It looks like some of the trans, like I go to Dayton Asia and I read the posts and they send me nasty messages and abusive messages and weird messages and all this stuff. And then, of course, Satan does that also. However, there's this woman that keeps coming up, and she's a trans woman. And she looks like this other woman that I chatted with for a while. So again, they have all the women that I've had just pretty much verbal relationships with, or that they used as bait, and maybe I still think they're good people or something. And I don't know if it's a real trans person or not, but they'll take a photo similar and put that there. But yet, there's something behind it also. There's another part of this. They know what kind of woman I like, what she looks like. That look won't appear anywhere else but in trans women. So see, it's very deep, whoever they are and what they're doing. It could be Satan, but, I know some of it is them. And that's how some spycraft manipulation works. But yet, if I don't do what they want, then they start messing with my Amazon orders, driving around me with license plates and getting in my way, taking their car and trying to swerve towards me, trying to cause road rage, or kind of act like I did something wrong in traffic, that kind of thing. So again, how are they paying all this? A lot of it's with super PAC money. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.